What's up guys, welcome back to another NihongoGamer video. Here with another episode of While I'm Driving. And I think we should start by talking about probably my favorite topic on the channel of the past few years, which is fighting games. Now the thing about fighting games is that probably when you go back and try to find out when I started playing fighting games, it looked all starry-eyed and open, like, okay, this is definitely the thing I want to do. These are the games I want to play. This is the type of video that I want to make. And so I made a series after I bought an arcade stick in King of Fighters 14 called like Beginner to Pro, because I genuinely believed at that time that I would be able to just become a professional by playing the game a lot, doing a lot of tutorials and just getting better at the game. It turns out though, that pattern of gaming is more common for things like RPGs. You know, you grind the game and eventually if you just play it enough, you get to the end. A lot of adventure games and action games are the same. As long as you just play it enough and learn the rules, you get to the end, and that's kind of the goal for a lot of games. And that way you can just buy a game, finish it, show it to the world, and then move on to the next video. But fighting games weren't in the end like that. I thought that's how they would work. But after doing the tutorials and after buying lots of games, buying lots of arcade sticks and streaming the game and learning more about it, it turned out you really are just having dialogues with other people and dialogues with yourself and just getting better, and there's no real end to it. You're just constantly trying to get better, but you'll always come up against someone who knows a bit more than you or knows something that you don't know and ends up beating you in a tournament or whatever. And so really the art of learning how to play fighting games wasn't like learning how to play a game. It was more like learning how to converse with other people, how to communicate with other people. Like once they start dancing around on the screen, if you don't know how to do the same dance, then you're just kind of stuck and they're just kind of looking at you. It's a bit like when you're at a nightclub and you're just doing your very standard jiggy dance, and then someone shows up and they just start doing the wacky kind of crazy dance. And you're like, what are you doing? That's not what I wanted to do. I'm here to play fighting games, and that's what it's like to play fighting games at a low rank, which, to be quite honest, I'm not very high rank at fighting games. And that's where it comes to the main topic of today, which is, how do you go about making fighting game content if you're not actually a professional or, you know, very strong at playing fighting games anyway? And that's what's been really difficult for me, is discovering that fighting games are not the game that I thought they were going to be. Significantly harder, and also just not really about being games. Like, yes, you buy them as video games, you put money in the machine and you can play them at the arcades. But really, it's more like buying a language or buying a dance course. You never really finish. You just learn how to interact with other people and then just hope that the more that you learn about dancing, the more you can do it in the future. Wow, that was a big truck. So the second thing is that fighting games turned out to be a lot more difficult than I expected. But then it comes to the content. I thought, okay, well, even if I'm not particularly strong at the game, even if I'm not a pro esports player, I should still be able to make content. And I still believe that. I still believe that I can. But it is really difficult, because now the question is the content that you like to make, is it actually something that people want to watch? And even if it is something that people want to watch, is it something that enough people want to watch that you can make it a viable thing that you do on YouTube? As you know, YouTube has become like a monetizable platform, and as a result, I've been able to do it for far longer than I was expecting. If YouTube weren't a monetizable platform, I think I would probably have a lot more pressure on me to spend my time doing profitable things and not making videos on YouTube. But because it's profitable, it's like, it's a good excuse. It's like, well, it's okay. It's kind of profitable, so I can balance doing it. I can actually balance the money that comes in from the channel to actually buy the things that are required to like make more videos. So the question is, if the videos that I like to make, which are just me streaming the game or me making mistakes or me learning more about the game, if that isn't very popular content, then what is popular content for fighting games? And it's difficult because there's a large number, you know, there's the same type of content that you can make for other channels. You can make meme content, or you can make video essays, or you can make tutorials, you can make gameplay videos where you make mistakes, or you can make compilations from live streams. Obviously, there's quite a lot of stuff that you can do, and that is the sort of stuff that I have been doing for the past few years. But every year, I just feel like it gets a little bit more strained. Like, is this really something I can keep up without actually getting better at the game? And so I'll go through this process of like actually getting stronger at the game. And you know, maybe there are people out there who can just practice really, really cleverly. They've got a really good practice regime, and all it involves is playing for 10 minutes, but really focused every day, and they get really much better at the game. But for me, it's so much more difficult, because no matter how many minutes I spend focused, or how many hours I spend unfocused, so whether it's time or focus, I just find it very difficult to actually progress and get stronger at the game. And I'm having to contend with that. I know that there are things that I could do about it, but that's the next thing about fighting games, which is kind of frustrating, is that every time you say, yeah, but I'm just not that good at fighting games, so it's difficult to make content, like immediately someone has a smart answer. And so compared to every other endeavor that I've ever, tried in life, so learning a new musical instrument, joining a club, or getting a degree, or getting a master's degree, or whatever, whenever you come up against a roadblock, people kind of help you. They're sympathetic. They're like, well, this is difficult, but if you try this, maybe this will help. And sometimes you get that in fighting games, but 80 to 90% of the time, when you say it's just too hard, people kind of look at you and go, no, you're just doing it wrong. And it's not that they're wrong, they're actually right. What I'm doing is incorrect most of the time. Or there are ways that I could do it differently, which are more effective. But it's that lack of sympathy that makes it quite frustrating to just be in the world of fighting games. Anyway, the next thing I wanted to say is that, okay, so once you get past that, you're like, okay, it's about discipline. I need to get better. I need to spend more time or be more focused. But given the way that my life is, raising a family and having a full-time job and living in a foreign country, it just turns out I don't really have as much time and energy to focus on it as I want to. I become quite quickly energy depleted. I would like to be more focused, but I just don't have the energy left by the end of the day. So how about content that doesn't involve being good at fighting games? And it turns out there's quite a lot of content that you can make. And one of the main things I've discovered, which is very popular for making videos, is the creation of content that is about collecting engagement, or kind of rage-inducing people, provoking people, as it were. And I think the main topic of conversation comes to tier lists. You have to just decide, do you want to make tier list content? And if you don't want to make tier list content, then you're kind of stuck. You're like, okay, well, I'll just make the videos that I like to make, but people don't like to watch those videos, or they don't watch enough of those videos that the video becomes, worth doing anymore. You need to spend that time getting a part-time job or spending more time on your career. It's not that I dislike those videos, but they're not the kind of video that I want to make. It kind of goes against what I feel I want to achieve with making content on the internet. It's like making people mad so that they watch is the opposite of what I want. I want people to watch the video because they like what they see and hear. Like making these decisions. Is this really the kind of world I want to be part of? And of course, I want to be part of it because I love the games. But when it comes to making content for fighting games, the thing about it is that you start to realize just how insular it is. So it's like, okay, I can make content without being good at the game, and I don't mind making tier lists. But this is my third and final point regarding fighting game content, and it's the fact that fighting games are really, really insular. Like compared to most topics that I cover on the channel that are not fighting games. When you talk about the iPhone, that is something that billions of people buy. Millions of billions, I don't know. When you talk about tablets, that's something that millions and billions of people are buying. Coffee, that's something that billions and trillions of people drink. When you talk about music, that's something that millions and billions of people play. But with fighting games, it's like the game promises you, or video games kind of promise you, okay, when you buy this, you'll be able to experience all of it and have a good time. But what actually happens is you feel like you spent $60 to $70 on this game, and you're only experiencing about 5% of it, because the other 95% of it is locked behind skill. And it's up to you whether you want to meet the skill required to enjoy the game. And it's like, even if you get better, then you end up going against stronger opponents. And then it just like never ends. You just constantly feel like you're not really getting your money's worth, which is of course not true. That like the struggle is the game. I love fighting games for that reason. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to the people who watch fighting games, the people who watch fighting game content and all this, it is quite insular. Just gonna let this guy go past because I'm not in a hurry. I'm trying to find my thing that I want to continue achieving on YouTube. And of course, like the overarching goal really is just to reach people. And I think on the whole, the content does match that. And I think I'm kind of tired of locking myself to fighting games to be able to achieve it. I like going places. I do like doing vlogs and travel videos. I love driving, I love music, I love drawing, I love all the things. And overall, like the channel is definitely about just reaching people, discovering new things through the people who watch the channel. Absolutely reading the comments and people coming to the live streams and chatting. That's where I discover more and more. It's like things I would never have discovered if I hadn't gotten into content creation, as it's called. And when it comes to fighting games, I don't think I'll ever stop playing them. I think I'll absolutely, to be honest, if anything, who knows, get better at them and enjoy playing them more in the future. I think I'll always make fighting game videos. But when you lock yourself down to fighting games, you have to ask yourself, why are you locking yourself down to fighting games? And most of the time, it turns out that it's just habit forming. There's something about fighting games which is like, when I don't know what to do, or when I'm kind of trying to avoid something else, I turn to fighting games. That's why it feels so good. It's such a good go-to activity. And I think that's the final point I really want to make about fighting games and the channel, is that it's kind of habit forming in, I don't want to say unhealthy, but that is kind of the word I'm thinking. It's kind of habit forming in an unhealthy way, or rather, you develop a dependency on fighting games. I've got nothing to do tonight. Maybe I'll make a video. I'll just boot up Ranked and play Ranked. Maybe I'll do a live stream. No, I'm too lazy to turn on the camera and set up the computer. I'll just play some Ranked. Or maybe I'll write a script, or maybe I'll write some music, or maybe I'll get back into drawing, or maybe I'll learn how to yo-yo again, or maybe I'll go traveling somewhere, or maybe I'll spend some time with my friends. And guess what it always comes down to? Sometimes I do those things. Most of the time, it comes down to, I'm just gonna play some fighting games tonight. That is where fighting games stand on this channel. Absolutely adore them. I want to play them more and get stronger. I always want to get stronger. But realistically speaking, I think I have to kind of admit that it doesn't come to me as naturally as I thought it would. 4 years ago? I think it was 4 years ago when I bought that big arcade stick and KOF 14 and thought, I'm gonna get into fighting games. It's not what I expected, and it's time to accept it. Sometimes you take on a challenge and it's not what you thought it was going to be. It's more difficult than you thought it was going to be. And even if you want to take on that challenge, maybe you don't have the time or the focus required to make it happen, or the personality to match it. Anyway, everyone, thank you very much for watching this NihongoGamer video episode of While I'm Driving. I'm really proud of myself because today I've learned how to downshift. Now, I've always known how to downshift my car, But the main thing is that, when you learn how to drive in the UK, they usually just tell you to slow the car down and then, go into neutral when you need to stop. But, there are ways to use the car's engine for braking to slow it down, and if you don't know how to do it, you can actually kind of just do harm to the car. But if you learn how to do it, there are plenty of reasons why downshifting could be beneficial for your driving experience and for the car itself. Anyway, it turns out you're supposed to pump the throttle before you actually push it into gear, and I wasn't doing that, and I kept looking at the gauge. I was like, every time I try to downshift, I see it go the needle kind of flicks forward unexpectedly. If you have been enjoying these videos and you want to see more, and wow, what was that? That was like a Lamborghini or something. If you want to see more of these while I'm driving videos, or want to subscribe and watch other fighting game videos, just hit that button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment if you've got ideas about how to continue making fighting game content and enjoy it even if you're not strong at it, or maybe you've got a channel yourself, you make fighting game content. Like the video, and I will see you all in the next episode of While I'm Driving, or maybe just any NihongoGamer video. See you next time.